Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to #Alert, and we have a treat for you today. We have Daniel Escudero of Animal Ventures Dallas, expert dog trainer and walker. So get ready for all the cute stuff and good stuff and tips and tricks that you need to know about your little Fluffy and Fido. Y'all, we are so excited. We have Daniel Escudero with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here and talk a little bit about what I do for a living.
Yeah. And then you also have Austin here, our old regular, old Austin.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. A second ago, I said, we need to get the camera rolling because, Daniel, you were hitting us with all this knowledge. It's we need to get this on film, man. We're gonna waste all the good stuff.
I know. I was sucking up all the knowledge, So I was like, hold on. Austin's right, and let that go down for posterity. Like Spencer, I will very rarely tell you you're right.
Okay, well,
there we go.
Note that, Matt. We're gonna clip that one and put it out on social media.
There we go. Awesome. All right. Well, Daniel, let's just jump right into it. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself, on Animal Ventures?
Yeah. Well, okay. So my name, obviously, is Daniel Escudero. I work with my wife, Kimberly Escudero. We went ahead and started Animal Ventures about 6 years ago. In February, I think, of 2015. Yeah, wow, it's been a while. But yeah, we started off doing dog walks, and then we got into dog training. We at first offered training for free, which feels like a long time ago. Yeah,
hey, that's a good thing. Yeah, it feels like a long time ago.
I'm telling you, we started off with a little Frenchie. We were walking him, and then we started training, and he was a wee little puppy, and so we started training him on how to sit and stay, and we saw things that worked. And I learned from a company that I worked with before. I had started with a different company, and then they got bought out by somebody else, and I had picked up some of the trainings there, and I've always been very interested. My uncle, before he passed away, was working to become a trainer, and so I picked up some of these things, and I found out that I'm really good with animals. Much better with animals than I am with people. Yeah.
Well, you could have had us fooled.
Yeah. Well, I've got it's like a short battery. And I'm I've got a little bit before I start turning into being brusque or whatnot. But I found I'm very good with animals. I like, my wife and I, we like how forward they are. Dogs, there's no passivity to them. There's manipulation. They can be a little manipulative, but if they like you, they like you. And if they don't, they don't. It's not one day they're going to be passively saying what is this? I don't know. Do I want to go on a walk? No. They let you decide. I'm like, no. They'll tell you get me out on a walk, or no, I don't want to walk, and that's it. Bam, done. So we found out that we love their directness, and we found out we were good with them in training, and so one thing led to another, and we trained a lot of different pups, and now we're here 6 years later, full-time dog trainers. My wife does a lot of the management stuff, behind the scenes work, scheduling. We have a couple of people that work with us, a couple of team members that only do some of the dog walking, and we do the dog training. And so she manages their schedules, divvying out payments. She does the financials. And then I do more of the heavy lifting, the walking, the training, transport, stuff like that. But yeah, it's been good. It's been a good 6 years, it sounds like. It's not too bad. Pretty good industry to be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so, it sounds like there's a lot of components in the everyday business. So, what is the day-to-day management of the business? You mentioned Kim is very much, managing the back end of things, and you're doing the heavy lifting. Kind of, what does the day-to-day look like?
Okay, so the weekends are usually the busiest, right? We need to get schedule requests on Saturdays, reach out to every client and ask them what they need for the week. And then Sundays is where we, send out the payment request. We do a lot of our payments through Venmo and Square. And then after that's all said and done, Sunday night, my wife does all the schedules, Monday through Friday. She puts them together, sends them out to our team members. The rest of the week is mainly me keeping to that schedule and us handling like last minute schedule requests, last minute schedule changes, add-ons, stuff like that. But outside of the weekend, where we really have to put things together in a nice, streamlined, effective way, day to day, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like going to your 9 to 5. You wake up, you know what your schedule is going to be. You go to work, do your job, come home, and go to sleep and do it over again in the following day. But the weekends is where all the gears are really turning. Yeah.
It sounds like it. And so, I mean, look, I'm a big animal lover. Austin, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I've grown up with animals. We, I don't have any now.
Yeah.
But grew up around them. Dogs.
I foresee a puppy in your future within the next 5 years.
And we'll be here.
Yes.
We'll be here.
Daniel will be here.
Talk to Rachel about that. We'll go from there.
But, you know, and I think a lot of people too, and especially a lot of like millennials and Gen Z, right? They love animals. But, you know, not necessarily everyone should be a vet, right? Like, let's be real. I thought for a hot second I wanted to be a vet, and then I saw a video of a cat getting its teeth cleaned, and it was under anesthesia, and there was so much blood. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
So, but there are other options in the pet industry, you know, so how would someone, if they want to do something that you're doing, how would they kind of get started into the pet industry or the pet business?
Okay, so there's a lot of outlets nowadays that you can sort of start a profile. There's stuff like WAG, Rover, a lot of pet sitting companies out there, you know, and so you can get a job with one of them, get some experience, see what the mechanics are of running a pet sitting business is, figure out what you want to offer, boarding. You know, do you want to do boarding? Do you want to sleep in the client's home? Do you only want to do dog walks? Do you want to do dog training? Stuff like that. You have to figure out what you want to offer. And then the big thing is how much work do you want to put into it, right? So you get exactly what you put in, that's what you're going to get out. And that's like that for most industries.
I would think so.
Service industries especially, you know, if you want to go above and beyond with a service related industry, especially like ours, we started out doing, you know, $20 worth of work for $5 worth of pay. And and you do that and you're okay with that because you need to establish rapport, relationships. Do you have something that's worth offering? Do you have something that people want to buy? You know, you don't just go straight into it saying, no, I deserve this amount of money. I'm like, why? What do you have to show for the work that you've done? Or is it just your own perception of what you're worth? Which is great. We love that. I mean, not everybody else sees it the same way, you know, because my mom sees me as $1 million kid. But,
oh, well, that's sweet.
She still has yet to give me $1 million. but no, for the longest time, you do a lot of work, and you have to be okay with that. You know, how many years are you willing to put up with that in order to try to get to a place where you're paid what you think you are worth? Essentially, that's the key to it is reach out, network, you know, drop off your business cards at places where it's, you know, there's a lot of dog traffic, places like, you know, pet sitting, pet supply stores, apartments, places around town, and present yourself professionally, right? Have a good setup, have a good business card, a high quality one, good layout, have your social media. You need to have,
about to ask about Instagram.
Yeah, you need to have Instagram, especially in today. You don't need to spend a dime on marketing outside of cards if you have social media and you can keep up with that. You know how to operate that because then you can have a really wide reach.
Yeah, well, we were talking a little bit before we came on about the fact that there's not a whole lot of regulation outside of being a veterinarian. There's not a whole lot of regulation in the pet industry, which is good if you want to get into it, but it's also probably not very good for the safety of the pets and the quality of work that's being put out there. I mean, have you had some experiences, I know not with your company, but if you had some experiences maybe where you've had customers come in that have had a bad experience with somebody else or something like that?
Yeah, we've had a lot of people come to us that were fooled by the facade, also the facade of social media, right? You can curate it however you want. You can present yourself however you want, and so, you know, people look at that and they think, oh man, this guy's great. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. And then they get into it and they're like, oh my God, this guy doesn't know anything about what he's doing. And then with dogs, the problem is when you've invested as much time as you have into someone that doesn't know what they're doing, there's a problem. It's like building a house on a bad foundation. Like then you got to like really take it down. Whew, it's tough work. And so how you would approach a situation to try to get as much information as you can is, first of all, experience, references, right? Do you have any references? Do you have people I can call that you've trained? You know, I can see what you did. And then, how long have you been doing this? And do a meet and greet, right? We offer a meet and greet, a complimentary meet and greet. You know, we don't do a paid consultation where we come by and we're like, yeah, we're going to get money no matter what. That's usually the first time where it's kind of like, With a lawyer, it's different.
Yeah.
You're like, no. But with a dog trainer, they should be able to offer an initial meet and greet for free, that initial assessment. And then have them show you a few things, right? Have them try to work on, any trainer should be able to get your dog to come, sit, and wait in like 10 minutes. They should be able to get it. They should be able to get done pretty quickly.
Kind of blows my mind, right? And does that depend on the age of the dog?
No. Well, I mean, to an extent, right? But yeah, we'll get into that here in a second. But yeah, most trainers, if they know what they're doing, should be able to get a dog to do those real basic things quickly. Okay. They should be able to do it quickly. If they can't, if the dog's not looking at them all funky and kind of scared, probably not a good choice.
Red flag.
Yeah, probably not. Your dog shouldn't really be scared of that person on the initial meet and greet.
Okay,
that's a good red flag. But yeah, those are the main things. Is if you want to look into someone and you want to find out what they're doing, first references, second meet and greet, right? Third, you want to ask them, what are your methods?
And that's critical, I think.
Are you positive? Are you negative? Are you positive and negative? How are you going to teach my dog to not do something? If I've lost the connection on my dog and he's taken off through the doorway, how are you going to teach him to stop running, to not go into the street, to not chase down a child, to not chase down a small dog that's already scared? How do you stop them from doing that? You should find out these methods, and so that they can be upfront and honest. The key to what we do is transparency. You have to be transparent and honest, both as a parent and as a trainer, right? I can't pretend, and everything I do is right in front of you during trainings. I do everything right in front of you. I don't pull them behind a curtain. I don't take them off to a facility where you're like, what did he do to my dog? You'll see exactly what I do. So I need to be honest. And as a parent, I need honesty from parents when they tell me, what are the problems you're facing? And also, what are your shortcomings as a person? If I can't find those things out, the world we live in, people are very concerned with their image. They're very concerned with how people perceive them. They don't tend to be honest about their shortcomings, and I have to pry it out of them. And I'm like, I'm not judgmental. I've got my mistakes. Believe me, you'll find that out.
I think with me, you learned very quickly that discipline isn't my strongest of suits. My husband's a lot better at the loving but firm discipline, and I'm more like treats.
And I saw that when I would tell you. I remember for trainings, I would tell you to, I would all right, crank on the discipline, and I could feel you tighten. I could feel your heart. I could feel it, your heart rate increase. And I remember the first day we took the leash off, you were like,
I was petrified.
I had to completely ignore Stella. I'd be like, relax.
That training was more for me than for her.
Exactly. But those are all the shortcomings where as long as you're honest, we can work through it, and we do. And I'm like, this is what you need to do to fix this. This is what you need to do to fix her. And the relationship is great. But if people who, don't want to admit their shortcomings, I'm like, I just gotta, come on, pry open, And then sometimes the funny part is, you think you're disguising it, and especially someone who doesn't deal with people very often, it's really obvious. I'm like, this is what's happening right now. And they're like, no. And I'm like, no, this is what's happening right now. I promise you, this is what you're doing. So, but yeah, those are all things you should look at when you're kind of trying to get a trainer, trying to get a dog walker, stuff like that. Is what's your experience? What's your plan? Like with any person that you try to make a relationship with, what's your business plan? What are you going to do here? Oh, that doesn't sound good. No, I'm probably not going to go into business with you. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, let's do it.
Well, and so you had mentioned earlier about the positive training, the negative training. So why don't we dive into that, right? Because I know there's a lot of shows like the Cesar Malone thing on Netflix, and everyone's very much like positive, positive, positive these days. Why don't you kind of delve into that, explain the differences and what you think is the best method?
Sure. Now, so with Cesar Millan, what happens with him is he uses a mixture, which is why he's dealt with some backlash. There's some times in the media where, over the past 5-6 years, he dealt with some backlash. People were like, his methods were a little archaic because he would use positive and negative. And you see it sometimes on the show, like when two dogs are fighting, he's not holding a treat above their faces, like, come on, come on. No, he's sitting there. First, he'll let dogs kind of go at it a little bit, let them establish themselves, and then he will split them up and he'll tower over them. He'll tower over them, letting them know who's boss. That's negative reinforcement. That's doing it in a way, not so much causing fear, but making them understand your power in the situation, right? And a lot of times what I tell people is if I came across an animal out in the wild that was I was a dog, like a Chihuahua or something.
Yeah.
And the animal was my size, and it told me what to do, I'd do it. I'd do it in a second. You come across a grizzly bear, and the grizzly bear rears up and for some reason knows English and says, "Get out of my way." You're like, yes, I'm getting out of. I'm not going to sit there and defy him because I'm like, no, going that way. Well, dogs are the same way. It's the bear doesn't need to hit you, doesn't need to take a bite at you or anything for you to understand. You should probably move out of the way.
Yeah.
Dogs are the very same way. They should look at you and understand when you say something, it should be done. Not because you're going to whack them, not because you're going to kick them or bury their face in the mud, because you've presented yourself in a way that you control the situation. And a lot of times that's done through negative reinforcement. Tone, strict tones, noises, tss, tss, hey, hey, those little sounds that a dog instinctively knows is like, that's a stop what I'm doing. Just like kids, I don't know if, do you have any children?
Not
No
yet.
children. Do you have any children? No children. Okay, so when you have children, you'll understand that. I have a 3.5-year-old son, and when he's going into a room that he shouldn't be going into, or he's walking towards the stairs, maybe a little bit too haphazardly, the first thing I say is, hey, 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 hey. And he stops. He knows. He's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, go that way. Go that way. But it's that tone where it's not positive, like, hey, don't go over there. I have a cookie over here. Come here. I'm like, no. If I don't get you to stop, you're going to go tumbling head first down that stairs, and then I'm going to have to pay a hefty medical bill. It's going to be crazy. So don't. This is for me, not for you. But you have to really get them to stop using tone, because you can't get to them in time to stop them. Dogs are the same way. You got to introduce that negative tone and make them understand, I'm at level 3. Don't make me get to level 5.
Yeah.
Don't make me get to level 10. Okay? Stop it. And that's how you introduce negative stuff to him. If he's repeatedly jumping on you, you can give him a treat over and over again, but dogs aren't dumb. Dogs aren't dumb. They know. They're like, I'm just going to keep jumping.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to jump again. You give me a treat. This is
great.
This is great. Like, every time I jump, you give me a treat. It's fantastic. No, sometimes you give them a little flick to, just like, hey, whoa, a little flick on the nose. You're like, excuse me. And they're like, ugh, I don't like that. It quickly teaches them, like, these are not wanted behaviors. But at the same time, you teach them positive reinforcement. You want them to come to you.
Yeah.
Like, come here. I'm a friendly guy. Come here. Sit. Wait, good boy. Here's a treat. That's awesome. Yeah, come up here on the couch. Those are all positive things that tell them, like, oh, I'm wanted, I'm loved, this is great. And you spend the first several months of a dog's life positive, all positive. Just like kids, right? They put their shoes on. You praise them. Well, then eventually putting your shoes on becomes expectation.
Yeah.
Same with training. You start with positive, start with love, start with praise, and then you should grow together. As a relationship, you should grow to the point where when you sit, because I stopped walking, I'm not going to praise you. So I will say, good boy, that's great, but I'm not going to give you a treat. That's expected, and that's expected. I expect more from you. So, yeah, there's that nice balance between positive and negative. You get some people that's like the positive only, the treat pouch wearers, right? The ones that have the treat pouch there, the ones that are. And I'm like, hey, to each its own, right? People have their different methods, and people have their different preferences. It's not ours, right?
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want you to have to need things when we're training. We don't want tools, right?
Yeah.
We want your voice, a leash, and a flat collar. That's all you should need to walk your dog. But yeah, you get the positives. Then you get the negatives, right? The negatives are the people that are walking and you see them like yelling at your dog, like yelling at their dog the whole time. Come over here, stop it. And you're like, whoa.
That's so stressful.
I'm like, wow, it looks awful. It looks terrible. That's making my heart rate rise. Even being here, I'm like, oh, that sounds like an awful relationship. So, there's a balance between the two that you need.
Yeah, well, and the way you're describing all this, there's a lot of parallels that you could draw analogies to parenting as humans. But one of my favorite things you said pre-show was your opinion about, dogs versus humans. I'd like you to share that with our audience. Just I think it's going to be a little polarizing, but I think you're the expert in this field.
Of course,
you know this better than we do.
Yeah. So we have this conversation a lot with parents, right? So we love our dogs. okay? We all love our dogs. But in the end, dogs are dogs. We love them as our children, but they're not our children. They're still dogs.
Yeah.
They still only have access to the parts of their brain that dogs have access to. They don't have the same access to the parts of the brain and the complexities that people do. And so they will always be capable of only so much thought. And then the rest is on you. You need to do the supplementary thinking for them.
Yeah.
Now, I get that we call ourselves dog moms and dog dads, but the emphasis, a lot of people nowadays have put the emphasis on the dad and the mom. I'm a dog mom. I'm a dog dad. I'm like, no. You're a dog mom and you're a dog dad. In the end, it's still a dog.
Yeah.
And the big difference between dogs and children is that one day, hopefully, your children are going to leave your home. They're going to go out into the world on their own. So you need them to be confident. You need them to be so sure of themselves that they can operate in this crazy world we live in. Lord knows where it's going to be in 18 years. And so they need to be able to navigate that. A dog's never going to leave. Oh, at least hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your dog should not leave your home, right? It's going to be with you their whole lives. So there's a certain level of dependency that they need to look to you for leadership. In times of trials and tribulations, in a situation that they don't understand, they should be able to look to you to guide them through that scenario.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas with children, you want them to be able to navigate those scenarios on their own.
Yeah.
And so that's the huge difference between dog children and children, is that you need to think for them and you need to communicate with them in a very clear, obvious, intentional manner, sort of like in an animalistic way. Because human beings, they can read the passivity, right? I can be like, yeah, okay. And that's sarcastic, right? That's like, oh, that's kind of a dig. But if I say, yeah, okay, to my dog's like, huh? They're sort of confused. They're like, great. What? yeah, come over here. And then the dog's like, okay.
You said come, here I am.
I'm here. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, that's where a big confusion comes in. We want our dogs to be people so bad, but they're not.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I definitely am guilty of treating Stella like a human child.
Yeah.
The amount of toys she has is astounding.
Yeah. Well, that's, we want you to be able to communicate with them like they're people.
Yeah.
But when you get frustrated, right, in those times where your relationship is strained and tested, that's when you need to now remember, be aware. Again, awareness is everything. Be aware that you're talking to a dog.
Yeah.
So, maybe not so much human talk anymore, because now they're more doggish. Dogs kind of go in and out of being like complex and then being just animalistic and instinctual. So you have to know when to, really simplify your language, simplify your body language to get a certain response from your dog in that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've noticed a lot of, and I see a lot of my friends, they got puppies during quarantine when they were work from home. But now a lot of places are, and we'll see what happens with this new Delta variant, but a lot of places have recently been, okay, now you're working from the office. And I've heard a lot where people are really concerned of, I've been home 24/7 with my puppy for a year.
Yeah.
I feel like a terrible, dog mom, which may be issue number one, for having to go to work for 8 hours and leaving my dog in a crate, during that time. What do I do? Should I even have a dog? Should I rehome the dog because I'm not there? I feel terrible. What do I do? And what is your advice to that person?
So, that situation is very common right now. There's a lot of people dealing with separation anxiety. And what you just mentioned about, being a dog mom, right? And you're humanizing your dog's situation, which is great. Because if you weren't, then you'd sort of be a psychopath, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's good that you can humanize that situation and empathize with your dog that way. But then you need to, again, break it down in a dog way. It's not as important what you do. So when you go to work, let me simplify this. The most important thing you can do with your dog is after you get home from work or before you leave for work. That's going to determine your dog's happiness. Right? If you're finding yourself gone for 11, 12 hours a day, every day, because that's what your work demands, yeah, you should probably find a better situation for your dog. Most dogs, they need a lot more attention than that. Yeah, unless you're dealing with like a already 10, 11-year-old dog that's lived, that all they want to do is sleep, and they have a doggy door and stuff like that. Most times, if you have a puppy, you got a dog below 5 years old, and you're finding yourself gone for 12 hours a day, let's just get that out there. You should probably find a different situation for them. They need a little bit more attention than that. Yeah. But if you've got a normal 7, 8, 9-hour job, a 9-hour day job, you're fine. You're okay. Just wake up early, take your dog out, let him play in the backyard, let him have some of that energy, that CrossFit style energy, the sprints, the chase and stuff like that. Let him get that energy out. Let him spend time with you, and then give him his breakfast, maybe do a few commands, let him engage, and then put him away in his crate, put her away in her crate. And when you get back home, unwind, get changed, make yourself a drink, have yourself some food. But when you're done, dedicate some time to your pup. Take them out for a structured walk, a nice structured. That's the most important thing you can do. You can take your dog for a 5-mile walk, and they're barely tired, right? Dogs can maintain energy for a long time.
I see that with Stella all the time.
It's the mind. You want to stimulate their mind. That's what's going to get them tired. That's what's going to keep them happy. That's what gives them purpose. Is you want to get them to do things for you that follow a certain structure, right? So when you're out walking, make them sit, make them wait. Make them turn, right? Make them back up. Do a lot of short stops as you're walking so that they're constantly engaged. You do a 20-minute walk with that kind of training, that stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, making them like focus, focus, focus. By the end of it, oh my God, they're exhausted. They're so, just like you are when you get home from work, right? You got to use your brain all day. You're like, oh God, I need to sleep. And so dogs are the same way. And so that's quality time where they feel purpose. They get to please you. They get to do something. And then when they get home, they're a lot happier. It's the quality of the time you spend with them, not the quantity. And that's going to be the most important thing to keeping your dog happy. But yeah, and then you can hire a dog walker, come by in the middle of the day, take them for a walk, enjoy the weather, have some playtime. There's a lot of different options. Dogs are not cheap. So
no, they are not.
Yeah, if you're looking for a cheap, cost-effective option to have a dog and then also have everything else you want in life and be able to relax all the time, no, dogs are like children in that regard. That your time for relaxation gets cut way down when you got that kind of responsibility. Sure.
And I think there's a big myth that people walk into that situation with that kind of assumption that, okay, yeah, it's just a dog. We'll just add it to the thing. And I think that's one thing. Part of the reason I don't have a dog is because I grew up, and I think my parents did a good job of teaching us, like, hey, this is a big responsibility. There's a lot that goes into it. But I'm sure you have to run into that sometimes with some of your clients.
Yeah. There's sometimes we've come across some situations where I'm like, maybe a dogless life right now may be better for you because there's a lot of problems. Because dogs live and die by routine, and every time the routine changes, the dog will exhibit behaviors. Some dogs take it a little better. Some dogs take it terribly. A lot of times, for example, if you let your dog, if you board your dog and you get your dog back and they have stool issues, a lot of times that's a sign of anxiety. They dealt with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety that's translating into their problems, their bowel movements. That's a good show of that. Other dogs, when they start showing some sort of rebellion, some dogs, they'll start peeing in the house randomly. After you've been gone on a trip, they'll come back and they'll pee in the house randomly. That's another sign that they didn't handle that change of routine very well, and that's their active rebellion. There's a lot of different signs, and some dogs deal with it better than others. But in terms of responsibility, like we have a German Shepherd. All right, I'm a dog trainer. My wife's a dog trainer. We work with our dog almost an hour a day. It's not dedicated, an hour straight, but there's always lessons during the day. When she comes flying through the house, that's a time to teach her. No, that's not what we do. That's not what we do here. Every time we go for a walk, there's structure. There's some sort of lesson learning moment. And it's like that forever. It's going to be like that forever. And I tell people that. They go, so when is my dog, a big question I get, when is my dog going to be like there?
The mythical there.
There, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I go, oh, there. I'd say 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years is when you'll start to see them plateau out a little bit. And they're like, what I go, oh, it'll come pretty quickly. The rest of your life is going to come in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So believe me, 3 to 5 years is nothing.
Yeah.
But I tell them, and a lot of them are not prepared for that.
Yeah.
They think, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months maybe. And I go, oh, no.
Yeah.
Dogs are, they're 3-year-olds, they're 3 to 5-year-olds, their whole lives until they're seniors. Then they're senior age, just like that. There's no in between.
Right.
And so, it takes a little while for them to kind of plateau into that expected behavioral level.
Sure.
And even then, it's still practice every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm not sure we actually mentioned this to the audience, but you're Stella's trainer and walker. So Stella loves her walks with you. She sees y'all several times a week, and y'all did a wonderful job training her. I would have been completely lost without y'all.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. We try.
Yeah, but so because you spent so much time with Stella, I mean, what was the most memorable moment for you when you were working with Stella, or when you are working with Stella?
Yeah. So outside of the initial time we met Stella, which was amazing, right? We get to meet a lot of puppies, and we have a special place in our heart for golden retrievers. We had a golden retriever as well, so he passed away about 3.5 years ago, and so we love their breed, we love their demeanor. They're incredibly intelligent in the doofiest way.
Doofy is a wonderful word for them.
They're incredibly doofy. But I digress real quick. In terms of intelligence, I mentioned intelligence in dogs. Now, intelligence does not mean whether you can do mathematical equations, right, with dogs. Intelligence is measured by the number of repetitions it takes for a dog to pick up a new concept, right? So, for example, golden retrievers, very, very fast. You can do something like 2 or 3 times, and they're like, boom, I got it. There are some other dogs that, you can do things 100 times and they go right back to where they were before, and you're like, you can't show them that. You're like, oh, you're so special. You're so special. I love you. Please sit. So that's one thing. But yeah, we have a special place for our heart for golden retrievers. So we loved meeting her. But honestly, the best moment with her is the culmination of our training to where we've done the house training with her, and she's done really well, right? She's try to push our buttons a few times.
Yes, with the leash.
A few times where she's looking at us like, you're going to have to work a little harder than that. And then the leash, I remember, leash breaking her was tough. Yeah. She was resilient.
Yes.
But then finally, we do the leash training, we do the house training, we're out in the field, and this is the dream. We unclip the leash out in the field, safe area, right? Assess the area, and we let her go. And when we turn, she turns. When we stop, she stops. When we say sit, boom, she sits. When we say okay, she runs. When we say come back, she comes back. When I say hey, she stops, like wherever she is. That's just an epic moment because you know the relationship has been set. You have a wonderful life ahead of you. And then it's just like the possibilities grow forever. It's kind of like when you're in your career, right? And someone reaches out for your dream job. And then you get that first phone call where they want you for that job. And the moment you hang up that phone, you're like, oh, your whole life now starts flashing before your eyes. You're like, oh my God, what do I do? That's what it's like in that moment where you're like, this is what we worked for, right? We worked for the dog to be this way. And we're seeing it in real time. And we see it at the same time you do, right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. All of our training is done in front of you. Right. So we get to see it as well. And, people think, well, you do this for a living. I'm like, oh, it never changes. It doesn't get any less special. That moment where you're like, you're there. Because now you're like, that's going to be a happy relationship. Yeah. It kills us when we see some people walking their dogs and they just look so unhappy. Yeah. They look miserable because they're just getting pulled and the dog doesn't seem happy. And they're like, and you can tell they hate taking their dogs for walks. They're like, God, I do this because I have to. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. Like you can love your life walking with your dogs. It can be amazing with a little bit of work. And watching that happen with Stella is just priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Well, you can tell you've got a lot of passion built up behind what you're doing, which is extremely important. So we always like to, as we kind of bring our episodes to close, we always like to review over some kind of 3 tips for our listeners. You kind of already hit them earlier, I think, just kind of review a little bit. You were talking about picking a trainer. I think that's probably one of the most important things that our listeners can take away from it. So you mind just recapping that for our people real quick? Yeah,
so in terms of picking the trainer, right, when it comes to your dog, first, You want me to give 3 tips on how to make your life easier with dogs?
Yeah,
Actually,
let's do that.
Let's do that.
We can
Let's
pick up
do
the
that.
trainer thing from earlier.
Yeah, so the trainer, right? You want to pick a good trainer. Get your dog trained. Get your dog trained.
Yeah.
Your dog's not going to grow into just a magically good dog. You need to train. Put the work in. Have it. If you can't do it yourself, which don't be ashamed, right? Don't be ashamed to admit you can't do it yourself. There's a lot of people out there that just don't have the time. That's fine. Hire a trainer. Do the research. Get the references. Figure out how they do their methods, and then trust them. When you hire them, trust them to do their job. All right. If you don't trust them, don't hire them. That's it. You know, don't go halfway. Because then if you backtrack, you're going to have to undo a lot of damage, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, remember, your dogs are dogs. They're not people. They're dogs. So simplify your mind. It's great. Love them like they're people. Love them like they're people. Communicate and train them like they're dogs.
This is something that I need to tell myself every day.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, it's okay to love them like with all your heart, right? But you've always got to keep that in the front of your mind that it's a dog. So, you know, it takes a slightly different way of communicating. Same with how you perceive their life, right? Some people look at the dogs in the crates and they're like, oh, it's a crate. I'm like, you're humanizing the crate. Don't put yourself in the crate. Don't put your child in the crate. A dog in the crate is completely different. That's okay, right? Just make it a good place for them. But they don't look at the crate like, good, you know, like, this is horrible. Some dogs do, but they just need to be conditioned.
Yeah.
But so that's number 2 is understand your dog's a dog and not a person. All right. And number 3, quality time with your dog when you get home. Quality, not quantity. All right. You don't need to take them to the dog park every day and just let them party. All right. A dog with no structure that still gets a lot of activity and playtime is not a happy dog. That's not going to be a happy dog. And it's just like people. You give children free run their whole lives, they're not going to grow up to be happy children. Right? They need some structure. They need guidance. They need leadership. You're a leader. If you're not ready to be a leader, then don't have something to lead. All right? If you're not ready to take that role, then don't take that role. Don't half-ass it. Again, pardon my language. But fine. Don't half-ass it. All right? Don't take it on and then be like, well, okay, now what? I'm like, now you lead. Now this dog's looking to you for leadership. So be ready. Be ready to fill that role.
Gosh, well, Daniel, you were full of tips, tricks, and wisdom today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
And so if people want to find you, where do they find you?
Yeah, so we have Instagram, right? Our Instagram is @AnimalVenturesDallas. We also have a shop where one of our team members is a very talented artist. He does a lot of watercolor paintings and some of the dogs that we've done visits for. That's @ShopAnimalVentures. And then lastly, our son has a little Instagram where he does walks with dogs and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. You get to see him walking some of the pups that we use, and all ranges of dogs from Frenchies to giant, Great Danes.
Nice.
The big Dobermans, and that's @TheLittlestDogLover. And so, you can check us out, get to know us a little bit better, see some of the dogs we've worked with, see some of the training we do. Any of the videos you see up on Animal Ventures Dallas, that's with a German Shepherd, that's our personal dog, so you can see some of that work as well.
Awesome. Well, Daniel, thank you so much again.
Of course.
All
it was a pleasure.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for tuning in, and don't go anywhere. We have closing arguments.
Guys, thanks for listening. Closing arguments are coming up, but make sure before you go rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast anywhere that you listen to your podcast. Check us out on YouTube, and you can check us out on Instagram and talk to us, tell us what you want to hear about. You can search us at #Lawyered, spelled out. You can talk to Andrea at andrea.s.turner, and you can talk to me at The Dallas Lawyer. See y'all again soon.
Good old defamation, and guess who's playing in the defamation world now? That's right, Netflix with their movie When They See Us about the Central Park Five, who subsequently, since their indictment, have now been vindicated. So this is a historical type film, and who all is bringing the defamation action? It's Linda Fairstein. And y'all, her allegations of defamation, well, they're here to stay. The court wouldn't let the lawsuit be tossed, so there is some plausible grounds. What'll happen next? Keep an eye on the lawsuit and we'll see.